for review, and boy, did we have a host of different types of games. Definitely had some upsets in there, along with a few that I think we all called. But yes, hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for predictions and opinion. And joining me this evening to take you through all of the action is Mr. Stephen Harris. How are you doing, sir?
Very good, thank you, Paul. And once again, a very good evening to all your viewers on the TDM. It's always a privilege and a pleasure once again to be on this particular show.
So we kicked off on Friday night with the Crusaders versus the Highlanders. This one finished 33-13. I think pretty much what we were expecting from this game, wasn't it? The Crusaders cruising on with their normal style. I mean, this was won pretty much in the first half. And I think some worrying signs for the Highlanders, because for me, they just don't trust each other on defence at the moment.
Yeah, there was some pretty ineffectual tackling, and that, unfortunately, that's been even through their preseason games. It's something that they haven't really sorted out at this point of time. What are we, 4 rounds in? You think they would have pretty much got it right by now, and they're just, there's just probably not, even in terms of attack, not quite enough polish. They make these breaks, and a lot of those breaks were made in and around Aaron Smith, and I know you'll get to the attack side soon, but when you're playing a team like the Crusaders, you got to take those opportunities.
You do, and I think for me, Aaron Smith in this one was going full on Sergio Paresi, as in, I'm going to do it all myself, kind of thing. The guys around me aren't quite good enough, so I'm going to make the extra effort and try and pull off the miracle. There were times when he funny grubber through to the right, which when he could have passed to the left. Again, another grubber through when he should have passed to the left. Aaron Smith seems to be just trying a little bit too hard at the moment.
Yeah, listen, I recall that occasion. I think he had Jack Wetton on the inside. Jack still had a good 15 or so metres to run, but the reality is, if he got taken in the tackle, support gets there, quick ball again, and you keep that opportunity. We all know that a kick ahead sometimes can be a bit of a 50-50 play. And on both occasions, he didn't just once, he did it twice. And, even if you think around about the 65th minute, they were still in the game. It was still a 2-try score game. But, of course, not taking those opportunities took their toll. But credit to the Crusaders, they defended extremely well during that time, even though they made a lot of changes.
Yeah, I mean, it was 71% tackling for the Highlanders at the 25 minutes mark. But also, for one of the tries, you saw Goodhue get to his man, and then Kieran Drani comes in as well to make sure Goodhue gets tackled, but Goodhue offloads, and suddenly the guy on the outside that Kieran Drani is supposed to be marking is free and gone. And it's that kind of thing that they've got to sort out. Don't dive in to help somebody because you think they're going to miss a tackle. Yes, tackles are getting missed, but stick on your man, keep the allocation right, otherwise you're going to get ripped to pieces, which is what really kind of happened.
Yeah, that's a real good point you make, Paul. One of the real features I thought of the Crusaders was not only were they getting in behind the Highlanders, and of course they were getting in behind because they were just getting so many offloads away. Guys were able to stand the tackle, get the offloads away, and if you think the likes of Moanga, you've also got Goodhue and guys like Eno, they all punch at the line very, very hard. They hit the line very hard. In the case of Goodhue's got that offload. We saw one of the tries from Cody Taylor, beg your pardon, come from an offload as well. So, there's a pattern there, isn't there?
There is, but and you also to be fair, seeing the Crusaders also butchering a few opportunities. Again, Havili, he had Reese on his right, but instead tries the double miss pass over to Bridge on the left, which is a bit of a miracle pass. It didn't come off. Now, when you're already 26-8 up, it's not the end of the world. But the Crusaders also did leave points out there that evening as well.
Yeah, just.
Couple of the players that really did impress me. It's those loose forwards for the Crusaders who we thought. Well, no, I said that there would be question marks around that area because you'd lost Tafua, Reed, and I've gone blank. I want to say Crotty, but it's not Crotty. Who's the other? No. Who's the 7 that's gone? Matt Todd.
Matt Todd, yeah.
So you missed those three, massive amount of experience and quality players. But the guys who have come in have stepped up and played really well. Grace and I've gone blank who the seven is.
Christie.
Both had really good games. Saunders didn't do anything wrong at 8 as well. And those guys, they've really have stepped up and into some really big shoes.
Yeah, crazy Paul. I always wondered about Tom Christie when I saw him running around, obviously former New Zealand under-20 player, when he was running around for Canterbury. I really didn't know if he was the full deal, if you know what I mean. But he just looks like he's grown another leg and another arm, and he's basically pretty much said to Billy Harmon, you might be coming back from injury, but you're going to have to work to get this number 7 jersey. Now, I saw a stat where he's made an incredible amount of tackles, and I think he's only missed 2 tackles this season, so just really accurate on the tackle. Probably doesn't get the same number of turnovers as Matt Todd, although I do recall one game previous where he was able to latch, might have been against the Blues, where he was able to latch onto a lot of ball. Callum Grace has been a revelation. Kind of reminds me of the old Andy Earl, almost Todd Blackadder type player, just gets in and just works hard all day, but also can put a lot of pressure at line-out time. But another guy who's found a level is Tom Sanders. I always thought he was like a bits and pieces type, great guy to have in the squad. But boy, he's lifted his game to another level.
Well, it helps when everyone else is doing the job around you, right? And and something that Blues fans are going to be absolutely pulling their hair out to here is that Moanga wasn't kicking. Havili did his leg and stopped kicking. But hey, that's your first and second choice kickers out the way. Who cares though? Because hey, Hall will kick absolutely fine, and then Drummond will come on as the fourth choice kicker and knock them over too.
Yeah,
the Blues can't find one guy to get kicks over. The Crusaders already have 4.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I might have messaged somebody about that as well. Here they are. The Blues can't seem to find one half-decent goal kicker that can knock over kickable penalties or points on offer. And these guys are rolling out, good grief, arguably they're blooming 4th and 5th goal kickers. It's absolutely crazy. But from what I understood, I did a bit of research in and around Mitchell Drummond. Now, apparently he's always kicked goals. He kicked goals at school, but obviously he's been playing for teams that have had more established goal kickers, and I think Bryn Hall showed last year during Mitre Team Cup. He's more than handy.
Yeah, the chief says those Crusaders are on another level. Someone needs to check their salary cap. Exactly. A couple of Highlanders I do want to talk about. I've already had a go at Aaron Smith, but to be honest, when he was on the pitch, they looked much better. His passing is out in front. Apart from him trying to do too much, his game is on song. You notice that when Hamilton came on, you could see these bright white arms stuck in the air as players were having to reach well above their heads to catch passes that Hamilton was throwing out all over the place at them, and that made a big difference. So you could tell when Hamilton came on. But the player who is impressing is Nariki, the winger for the Highlanders. Boy, he has got some skills. I thought he was off to the Sevens programme, but it's good to see him playing some Super Rugby after a good season with Otago.
Oh, he's a very tidy footballer. And the other little added bonus that he's got a very good kicking game as well, Paul. He can, for a little guy, he can really carve off some metres. Great finish. I mean to say the try that he scored, brilliantly finished. I thought, and really deceptively strong. I thought he was very good. I thought Michael Collins at the back, without showing a hell of a lot in attack, pretty much diffused most of the high kicks that came his way. But it kind of is a little bit of a sacrifice with Michael Collins. You probably sacrifice a little bit of attack by having the likes of Josh Mackay on the paddock. Paul, a player I just want to really touch on is Shannon Frizzell. He frustrates me a little with his discipline at the minute, giving away a lot of penalties. There was one penalty at the breakdown area where he just really didn't retreat, and it was there. The ball was there. The Highlanders had defended. They'd actually put in a good period of defending, and it was lazy. He was just absolutely lazy, and then of course it was round off also with a yellow card, a lifting tackle. I think it was a clean out tackle where he lifted a guy. It's just not good enough. kind of reminds me of Via Fafita at the moment. We know what they're capable of, but unfortunately they carry a lot of baggage in and around discipline, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And Frizzell really does need to sort that out. There's a question in the chat, which is, does Aaron Smith have another Rugby World Cup in him?
That is a very good question based on all the halfbacks that we're watching at the moment. Of course, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, he's 31, so he is going to be definitely at the older end of it. I think the All Blacks. Well, if he's in the All Blacks squad, come the Rugby Championship, then yes, the All Blacks do think he's got another Rugby World Cup in him. If he's not, and you see him just playing for the Highlanders from now on, then the answer is no, he doesn't. We'll have to see. But I think the All Blacks think he does. Then on Saturday, we kicked off with an early game with Rebels versus the Sharks. You could see the Sharks' intent very early on with their tap and go on the halfway line, but they were making some kind of early errors. I mean, Mapimpi dropped the ball off a scrum and a few other things that really held them back. They definitely shelled a few points before they even picked up, even though they scored on the first 4 minutes. They already had given up points that they could have scored. But this is turning into an impressive outfit by the Sharks, isn't it?
Oh, it looks good. And listen, the return of, I must mention the return of Kerwin Bosch as well. He just brings a little bit of stableness and subtleness to this the Sharks team. I mean, the crazy thing about it, really the Rebels had the perfect start to the second half. Two yellow cards within the space of 4 minutes to the Sharks, but they obviously they scored Nasarati scored a little bit later on, and at 17-22 you thought that they would come back in the game, but the problem is they really didn't capitalise on those two cards. Pretty much the Sharks pretty much got themselves together and just finished too strong over the Rebels. Just a little bit too much class, in my opinion, Paul.
The Sharks have had class for a couple of years now. What they've showed this year, though, is they're enjoying their rugby. They're not fearing their rugby, which I think we've seen under the previous regime. Actually, they're enjoying it under this regime. We saw Mapimpi turn down the hat trick to give Kerwin Bosch a score, and that probably was because Kerwin Bosch had been back to South Africa for bereavement, and so it's kind of like so it was one. It was so I think that's why he did it. And when you got a team that's together like that on and off the pitch, you're going and actually enjoy playing with each other. You're going to see them performing much better. Now, it helps they have got world class out wide. Let's be honest, and a decent pack. The only question mark really is around Kerwin Bosch staying healthy. To be honest, they're a little bit thin in that area. But yeah, they are looking like one of the teams that is a real contender this season, and I must admit I didn't have them down as that pre-season.
Yeah, no, listen, I certainly go along with that, and I think the other crazy thing about it, Paul, if you pretty much look through the packs, apart from Dutoy, the tight head prop, there's a lot of unknowns in that pack as well. I mean, to say they don't have the Dupree boys. If you remember, he used to basically bash everything and anything. They're pretty much gone, but there's a lot of unknowns in that pack, and young side, they're only going to get better.
Josh is saying, someone was hoping we would skip through the game review for this one, because yes, from a Rebels point of view, they have been very disappointing this season. Losing to the Sunwolves first up was really bad. They've only had one win, which was over the Waratahs, who haven't won a game all season. It was just a static defence against an aggressive attack, and that backs line shouldn't be static. They've got real nice footballers in there. Dane Helnut-Petty and Tom English is a good player. But they just don't have that 9 and 10 to run them around the park.
Yeah, well, any team that's got Corabetti in their team, for crying out loud. Get him in space and get the ball in his hands. If crying out loud, really? No, I don't quite get what they're actually all about or what they're trying to achieve. It just they look disjointed, Paul.
And they've got nice players in there, but they just don't have. They look disjointed. Even when they got back into it at 17-22, we just saw the Sharks go through 19 phases and eventually go over. So yes, but we have Batman has said in the live chat that apparently Bruce Wayne is going to buy the Rebels, and I think he's joking with that one. The Batman there, but
that's sure. Oh, that's the Joker.
Joker. So Jordan Clark, ARU should have got rid of the Rebels rather than the Force. Yeah, we could go back over that one, but at the end of the day, let's be honest, it came down to the fact that the ARU owned the Force, where they would have to have bought out the Rebels and hence it was a financial decision, not a rugby decision. At the end of the day,
Paul, I was about to say one of the disappointments about the Rebels, there's a lot of established guys there. Billy Meeks, Tom English, Corabetti, Haylett, Petty. They've been around this side for a while. You know, Philip and the Pat Nasarani, he's been running around with these guys for a while. It's not as if there's Ainsley, the tight head prop. I look through this roster, and there's not a hell of a lot of these guys that are basically new to Super Rugby. Cottrell in the reserves, Rangi the hooker, he was always talked about as a possible Wallaby hooker down the track. So yeah, something's awry there, isn't it?
Yeah, and Vessels is someone who, when we was with the Force, there were various people saying, "Oh, he could be a future Wallabies coach." I don't think anyone's saying that now. You look at that lineup, and the TAB looks at it and made the Rebels favourites going into that game. You could get the Sharks at $2. Well, I got the Sharks at $2, which seemed crazy to me at the time. But there you go. After that game, we headed over to Hamilton for the Chiefs versus the Brumbies. Now, coming into this game, the Australians were 0-7 from games between Australian sides and non-Australian sides in Super Rugby. I think pretty much everybody had them down as being 0-8 coming out of this game. But boy, the Brumbies turned up, didn't they?
You and me both, Paul. I remember we kind of did the review show for the weekend last Thursday, and
preview show.
No, we didn't the preview show. We didn't give them pittance, to be brutally honest. Boy, what do we know? Because I reckon that first half was about as good. Listen, I know the Chiefs made some changes based on the fact they'd won 3 games. Coach Gatlin probably thought, well, here's an opportunity to rest some guys and try some other guys. So even if we discount that, I reckon that first half performance was as good a performance from an Australian side. I think I'd have to go back to the year when the Waratahs were leading the Crusaders, something like about 25-8 at half-time in Christchurch. A very, very good half. And I thought to myself at half-time, Paul, can they sustain it? Because we know the Chiefs can be a second half side. Sometimes we saw that against the Blues in round 1,
and against the Crusaders in round 2.
Yeah. Absolutely, very much so. But given the week that they had in and around, well publicised, the team had a case of the mumps going through this outfit. But you sort of once again go through this. You go through this side. Yeah, there's some experienced guys there, and Becks and Muirhead and Kuandrani in the back line and Powell at halfback. But the rest of them, man, Cutter, new to Super Rugby, former Warrior, took his opportunity. But man, I'm very impressed with the first 5. Lole Seal at the minute, only a young guy, but boy, ran the Cutter really, really well. And that try that Cutter scored, it was some nice manipulation, which basically caught the Chiefs winger out. I forget who that was, but that was just a superb try.
Yeah, well, I mean, Batten points out that Gatlin's got something like 3 wins out of 15 games against Australian sides, and you got to remember at least 2 of those were with the British and Irish Lions. But I don't think we can blame Gatlin on this one. The Brumbies came out with a set game plan to hold onto the ball, and they did it extremely well in that first half. the Brumbies, sorry, the Chiefs didn't touch the ball for the first half hour, and playing that kind of keep ball is difficult to do, but the Brumbies did it very, very well. Now, perhaps they didn't get the points they needed or they deserved in that first half, but that first try in the second half really, where they made the most of mismatches, was really good. And yeah, it was a very impressive team. And by the time the Chiefs were coming back, it was all too little, too late, really.
Paul, I was going to say one. Like most games, they all start up front. But gee, I was really impressed with James Slipper. The amount of touches that he was having in terms of carrying in that first half was very, very impressive. I know he ended up picking up a yellow card. I've got to say, are the Alalatua brothers? I know one's playing for the Crusaders and one's playing for the Brumbies, but man, I don't know who their dietitian is, but boy, aren't those two boys looking in really good shape at the minute?
Yeah, no, they absolutely are, and he's also captaining the side for the Brumbies as well, which is really, really good. I guess a couple of things about the Chiefs. This was a very, very different Chiefs team. Okay, I mean, Ben Darwin actually posted that. So Sox said, "Oh yeah, that the Brumbies hadn't beaten a good team." So said the Chiefs said that wasn't a good Chiefs side they put out. Now, it's a very different Chiefs side because tactically, I mean, it was Boshier, Karpik, and Sam Cane as your 6, 7, 8, which is pretty much 3 loosies. You change that up to I've gone blank.
Jacobson, who went off. Jacobson went off injured, was replaced quite early by Karpik.
But then Karpik sort of played the full 80. But yeah, so basically Jacobson, Kane, and Solikua. Is it? No.
Yeah, Solikua. Yeah.
Solikua. Now Solikula's been coming off the bench and being really destructive against tired defences. But starting it, that's a 6, 7, 8. As a proper 6, a proper 7, and a proper 8. It's a very different dynamic, a very different style that the team's got to change to. And they just didn't do it.
Paul, here's a question from you, and I don't know if maybe one of our viewers would send the question in, but I just thought there were a couple of times there when there were points on offer from the kick off the tee. I just kind of wondered, and it was 26-14 at the time, boy, you kick a couple of penalties and it's 26-20, then there's a Hail Mary right at the end, but I just think one of the real key things for the Chiefs was all of a sudden they started their line-out went astray. There was only about 2 or 3 of them that went astray, but they were crucial. There was even one where they kicked to the corner, if you recall, and they actually lost it. They lost their own throw, and I think that was pretty much. I think that's when you knew that pretty much the game was up.
Yeah, no, true. Look, we've seen with the Hurricanes who had a bad opening game and then have gone on to look really good since then. One game does not define a season, folks. The Chiefs have got a weekend off as well, so yeah, they'll be back. But yeah, it just shows that they're not unbeatable, basically. We followed that one up with Reds versus Sunwolves. Now, talking about unbeatable teams, the Sunwolves are not on that list, are they? Let's be blunt.
No.
My notes on this one are very, very brief. Basically, an early blitz by the Reds, and then it was all over. And I stayed up and watched it, but I didn't really pay any attention, to be honest.
No, you did really well, but I think I might have said to you in the preview show, the Reds are one of those teams in their first 2 games they were a little bit stiff and discipline had let them down. This time they pretty much got everything right. All the passes were sticking, all the little bit of lucks were going, and to be honest, that start they got off to, I think it pretty much put the Sunwolves on the back foot, and once again maybe a little bit of discipline as well from the Sunwolves giving away. All of a sudden, when you got that much ball, you start giving away penalties, and unfortunately for the Sunwolves, they are pretty much when you look at them, a United Nations type team, and probably in the first few opening rounds they've probably played above their station. But we always know with the Sunwolves, the test is when they basically get on the road, and they were well and truly had the confidence knocked out of them. I think they might have got a bit of that confidence knocked out the week before against the Chiefs. Ball. Yeah,
you're probably right there. One of the points Ben Darwin put out again was there were 9 changes in between those 2 games. You're like, look, with a team that's come together about 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the start of Super Rugby, you think of who your best 15 is, and you stick with it for as long as possible. Don't go making changes. it's not a squad game for a Barbarians team. It's a first 15 game. If you're going to make that many changes, then you're in trouble, I'm afraid. So so I think some coaching issues there with the Sunwolves, because I say in week one they looked like they were enjoying their rugby and were being given a license to play. That's gone away now. The Reds were at a point a minute up until the 50-minute mark. I thought we might be seeing an 80, but they kind of faded off in the last half hour. Did it matter? Pardon me, no. But we just keep an eye on the Reds and see if they've got the stamina to play a full 80 minutes, because they didn't do that. They didn't need to do that at the weekend.
No.
After that, we had the Stormers versus the Jaguares over in South Africa. I've only seen the highlights of this one, which basically means I've seen about 60 seconds of the first half that finished 3-0 at half time. So the highlights for that from the highlights back were kicking a goal and a yellow card. That was the highlights from the first half. So not the and turnovers, 12 by the Stormers, but 20 by the Jaguares. And that probably tells you where the Jaguares lost this game.
Yeah, very much. This game kind of reminded me of the Hurricane Stormers game, very first game where that game the Stormers had a big lead at halftime, but only scored 10 points in the second half. No, at the 54th minute, I think the game was pretty much done and dusted. Although credit to the Stormers, the Jaguares did throw a lot at them in the last 20 minutes or so, and the Stormers' defence held very strong. But I think even they'd be probably disappointed with that. Only 3 tries in the game, I think, Paul. So no, not a lot happening. And to be honest, if you got up to watch that game, you probably would have been asking that age-old question. Well, I'll leave you with that age-old statement. That's 80 minutes I'm never going to get back.
Yeah, I did get up. I was watching Italy versus Scotland instead. At the same time. You got to say, look, this was a Stormers. This Stormers side has got a very good defence. They've given up they've given up the least amount of points so far this season. The Crusaders have given up nearly twice as many. They're the second best defence. So, look, they're definitely a defence-orientated side. And they scored from an intercept and then a good try, which basically won the game. But it's their defence that's winning games at the moment.
Yeah, Paul, it is. My only concern from them, how far is that style of play going to take you into competition? I know our very good friend of the show, Herman, basically may have had them as his favourites to take out the competition. Boy, it's a lot of rounds to be a defensive team, Paul. Because and it does happen sometimes, we see that with these very good defensive teams, and all of a sudden somebody finds the key to unlock them, and it's basically all of a sudden they break their standards. They are gonna, when it comes to the tougher games, or even let's see what happens when they go on tour, Paul. They are going to have to score some points, which is sort of contrary to the Sharks, who will leak a lot of points, but boy, they'll score a lot of points. So as we all know, if a team's got points in them, it's quite easy to fix that defence.
And the Sharks have got their tour out the way early on. The Stormers is later, and their one is Chiefs, Crusaders, Brumbies, and then the Sunwolves. So that's the 3 hardest games they could possibly have for their tour. So very difficult to for them. But they won it 17-7. They're the only team now that's won all their games, and they're going really strong. With the Blues up next weekend, I think we'll be seeing them going 5-0. Lastly, the Bulls versus the Blues. Boy, it was a wet game, and that pitch ripped up something chronic, didn't it?
Oh, it didn't look great. It obviously kept a lot of the locals away, and actually the irony of it, the Blues 2 victories have been in conditions where there's been a bit of precipitation around, which is a bit unusual. So I'm asking the question: Are they better in wet weather than they are in dry weather? But I think the thing that for me, the highlight of this game was the try scored by Perifetta under those conditions. The catch by Matt Duffy, and we all know how good he is or can be under the high ball, was just really quite sensational under the conditions.
No, absolutely. What really amazed me was you got Ruru kicking off at the beginning of the game. You've got a Terry Black, Plummer, and Perifetta on there. You've got 3 fly halves on there, and Ruru, the scrum half, is taking your restarts. Are you like, what? Anyway,
Paul, I actually saw that in the I saw that in the Crusaders game as well, and I found it really surprised. I mean, to say that's not his skill set. Personally, I'd be more happy with him working more on his high box kicks as opposed to his kickoffs. That's what your first fives are for, especially if those younger first fives harbour any sort of ambition of playing at another level.
Well, of playing at this level for much longer, put bluntly. I saw a couple of comments by Bulls fans saying if Mornay Stern had made his kicks. Look, Mornay Stern hit 80% of his kicks at sticks. The Blues hit 50% of theirs. So look, the Blues left points out on the pitch, very much so, as they scrambled home in this one. So it's bad. It's very, things are very bad for the Bulls. We also had 4 yellow cards in this one actually, so probably should run through those. Taking someone out of the air, yep, fine with that. So that one was fine. The Ordendale one, look, they were both bending over a lot, yes, but Ordendale, what he has to do is look up when he's tackling. At the moment, he's looking down when he's tackling. So once he's gone into a tackle, he can't see what's happening and change around and change what he's doing. So he needs to keep his eyes up so he can actually see what he's tackling. Because at the moment, it's just eyes down, throw his body in, and sometimes the situation's going to change and he's going to get himself in trouble, and that's what happened in this one. Taleo, I guess. Any comments on the other cards before I move on from those?
Oh no! Listen, the only thing, both the learnings that both of these teams will take from these yellow cards, in all these cases there were tries, and well, at least 3 of the cards there were tries scored. There were tries basically scored after those yellow cards were given out. I don't really know if the Blues really took full advantage though when the Bulls were down to 13 players though.
No, true. A player who is looking good though is Talia, out on the wing for the Blues. He's having a good game, a good season at the moment, which is great to see. And a player who unfortunately didn't have a good game was Lebok, who came on and missed touch 3 times in a row. If you're going to be giving up that amount of territory, then your forwards are going to be having words with you later on.
Yeah. Speaking of forwards, I thought Tom Robinson, just a bundle of energy, isn't he? Isn't he, Paul? And I thought he was very good in the pack. And Hoskins Satutu, a little bit of talk doing the rounds. And by the way, he's a little bit of a scoop for you. I've through a contact, I believe Akira Ioane is in talks with the Hurricanes. So there's an interesting, but why should we be surprised with the way Hoskins Satutu is going at the moment? And I think we've all said for a very long time, maybe a change of scenery is the best thing for Akira Ioane. Yeah,
Hoskins Satutu, look, everyone's like, he's come from nowhere. Not really. About halfway through the Auckland season during Meisterton Cup, he got ahead of Akira Ioane for Auckland in the NPC. So he's just carrying that form on, from last season. So yeah, it's not just the Blues coaches. I mean, I've seen some articles say, "Oh, he went well in the pre-season, therefore that's when he got ahead of Akira Ioane." that shows you rugby scribes who do not follow Mitre 10 Cup, because he got ahead of Akira Iwani back then, and had a really good season at Mitre 10. So and that shows you the worth of that Mitre 10 Cup pieces. Players like Satutu, Nariki, who we mentioned for the Highlanders, etc. These are guys who have shown it at the Mitre 10 Cup level and then earned their Super Rugby place from that. And now they're starting off the back of some good performances there. So the Mitre 10 is definitely worth its weight in gold, even though there are rumours that it's going to be getting a revamp in the next season or two.
Paul, just a quick thing. I know there was a bit of talk before this game about Leon McDonald using the three pivots, with obviously Otere Black, Plummer and Perifeta. I actually thought Perifeta actually looked better at fullback than he has at first five. I'm really not sure. I'm not convinced that Plummer looked good at second five. To be brutally honest, I think defensively got caught out a couple of times. And
Perifeta, I'm happy at 15. Absolutely, but this trend between Plummer at 12 and also Iwani at 12. So I was thinking of Iwani when I tried to correct you. Those sort of players, not to me. They're not 12s. They don't have the bulk to handle the traffic that comes their way. They are 10s, very much so, who can also play 15. To be fair, both. I mean, Iwani can play 12 as well. So sorry, 15 as well. But there does seem to be this. What I think we're seeing is certain franchises are very thin in certain positions. Now, I think New Zealand franchises across the board are pretty thin at lock. But if you look at Auckland, they've only really got 3 centres on their books, which is as in second 5/8 and centres. So 3 midfielders on their books. So I was talking Northern tongue there, saying centres. A player like Manu down at the Highlanders, down at the Chiefs, why he didn't move up to the Blues, I really don't understand. Plays for Auckland. He could see Tapia coming through. He could see Nankivell playing well. Antoinette Brown in there. They've just got a lot of very good midfielders. And the uneven distribution of midfielders of certain positions across the franchises isn't helping the players or the teams.
No, I agree there. There was also talk before the beginning of the season that we might see Rieko Ioane rolled out in the midfield. So I am starting to wonder if we're going to see that, because Duffy had a very good game, and listen, I think Talia's locked down one of those wing positions for the rest of the season. He's been very impressive. So is there a good chance we might see Akira Ioane jump into that 13 jersey?
I think so. I think they have to. I think he has to, purely on the fact that they just don't have enough players to play 12 and 13. I mean, Joe Marchant's done very well at 13, but he's not going to play every single game. I'm not sure. I'd be interested to see whether they think he can play 12 as well. Joe Marchant has fitted in very well, having come down from the Harlequins in the Harlequins, just Harlequins. Jeez, I'm sounding very American there. The Harlequins, the Bath. Sorry. So yes, it's going to be interesting to see if they try him at 12 or not. But yeah, he's done very well and looks to be enjoying his time down here in New Zealand.
Yeah, I've been impressed with him. I look a bit tidy. I know he's got his critics, because that age-old question gets asked: why aren't they looking sort of within and looking around at talent around? Well, the reality is there wasn't much to pick from the northern region in those midfield areas. So, we mentioned Tuamanu, who unfortunately is locked up with the Chiefs. Listen, the next season I'd be all over him, a player of his, because they won't have Marchant next year. So he's only signed a one year deal, so you've got to replace somebody. And I do not think Harry Plummer is a midfielder.
No. So thank you very much for joining me, Stephen. The Big Chief asks, is Ardy making the code switch to League? Well, that's the sort of stuff we'll be talking about tomorrow night on #RugbyChat. So do join us at 8 p.m. on the channel for #RugbyChat. We'll be talking about all the kind of rugby things are not happening that are happening off the field, and that is certainly one of them. You can see our Twitter handles on the screen, so do come and have a chat with us during the week, and also down below, hit that subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any shows going forwards. Finally, my predictions for the next round of Super Rugby will be coming out this evening, probably in about 2 hours' time, I think it is. So check out DrivingMaul.com for that as well. Thank you, Stephen.
No problems. Pleasure.
Good night, all.